Well, hello, I'm here with Andy this morning, and we're going to have a little chat about what it means to be scattered as a church. It's great to be with you, Andy. Would you like to introduce yourself a little bit for everyone?
Yeah, so I'm Andy Wilson. I am based in a place called Matson on the outskirts of Gloucester. I'm married to my wife, to Emma, two daughters, a rescue dog called Monty, and we are pioneering a new worshipping community on a parish estate on the outskirts of Gloucester in Matson. Oh,
that's great. So here at Christchurch, we talk about discipleship and living the Jesus way, and we're the next couple of months we're exploring what it means to be scattered as a church as well as gathered. So I wondered, for you guys in Gloucester, what does it mean to be scattered?
Yeah, so I guess for us, I mean, the people who we have started the journey with come from all walks of life and of all varying backgrounds, and really the scatteredness is actually in the mix and the mess and the struggle of different people's lives, and actually helping them realize as well that on their street, in their place of work, if they have a job, in the school playground where they meet with other people, they can make a difference. They can bring love, they can bring God's hope into that place as well. So the scattered for us will look very, very different, and possibly to a number of other places, but actually it's about helping people know where they live, where they connect, whether it's their street where they live or those point of connections, school playground, work, the shops, wherever it might be. So scattered is for us is really about everyday life. It's about where people go, the people they bump into, the people they connect with. Where are those happenings actually taking place?
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's something that for all of us, isn't it? That question, I love that. Who do we bump into? Who do we connect with? That's a really helpful way of thinking about it. And I wonder then, so that's one part of being church in your everyday life. How does that connect in with when you spend your times together gathered?
So we have a couple of different points of gathering. So there's a point where a number of us will gather every couple of weeks over a meal, and we've started really over the last couple of months asking the question, where are we seeing God at work? So actually the idea of coming together and sharing those stories. So the gathered for us is firstly a place of gathering stories together and encouraging each other that actually God is at work through us and in the people around us. But also another point of contact is where we also gather some people. Some of it's around craft and prayer. So we've recently made some prayer bunting, and on the different triangles there's prayer requests, and as you go across that bunting, you'll see that actually the scatteredness is coming through on that bunting. So actually as we gather, we're praying for all those scattered relationships, for those scattered points of contact, but we're coming together as community to I guess bring all those different elements before God.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that idea of prayer bunting. I might have to borrow that one at some point.
Yeah, do it. And it really works. And the idea is that as we're praying for those things, if we know that a prayer has been answered, then we can either put a tick on that piece of bunting to sort of say, God has answered this prayer, or we can take it down to say, right, we don't need to pray quite so much into that because that prayer has been answered, but we can be thankful and should be thankful and should thank God for those things. But then we can always, the great thing about bunting is you can always add bits to it, and we can add extra prayer bits in.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you. So my next question is around, as you've sort of done this and you're exploring as a community together, this sort of being scattered and gathered, is there a piece of advice or a top tip that you could give people who perhaps wanting to take that first step into sort of thinking about what scattered looks like for them?
I think my my top tip, I guess, is a phrase that I have used now for probably about 18 months. And that is, so every day I am expectant of God without putting my expectations upon God. So whenever I get up with the stuff that's going to happen each day, some of it will be expected, some will be unexpected, some things will be known, and a number of things will be unknown. But actually, I get up expecting that actually God is at work during that day. And God will be at work in the conversations I have. And as I said before, the people who I bump into, the relationships that are developing, I expect God to be at work. So my top tip is to is to be expectant, to live an expectant life, that God will work through you and God cares about the people who are around you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when we're expectant, we also notice more things, don't we? We notice things that God is doing that perhaps we would have just walked past if we weren't being expectant.
Yeah, because we're looking out for it, aren't we?
Yeah.
If you're expecting, you're paying attention to what's going on around you and you're looking out for things.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much. I wonder then, final question for you this morning is, and when we read the Bible throughout it, we see this pattern of people both gathering together, but also scattering and living their lives for Jesus wherever they are. Is there a part in particular in the Bible that you find sort of has been a sort of point that you've referred back to or found helpful in thinking about this?
Yeah, I mean, the scattered bit, I often refer to and read through Acts. I particularly like Acts 17, where Paul goes and spends time in Athens with, he's got a couple of others. I think Luke may be with him, but he's waiting for others to join him at that moment. But I think just as you read through Acts, the way that the disciples worked together, that actually there were points where they came back and gathered in Jerusalem and then went back out again. So for me, a lot of the whole book of Acts actually speaks into this scattered and gathered. There were points where they came back, they shared stories, they encouraged each other, they sought God together, they ate together, and then they, a number of them would go off again and do what God was asking them to do and go to certain places. So I'd always encourage people to read the book of Acts. Yeah,
it's one of my favorites too. I love it. But you also see it, and you mentioned there that it's something we do together. Everyone's got a role to play, but actually it's really important that we're not doing this on our own. We are doing it together as well.
Yeah, and that is important actually, because there are, I guess in every walk of life you always get those people who go off and do something on their own, but actually God's not asking us to go alone. He's asking us to go, he sent the disciples out in twos whenever Jesus was with them. So he never asks us to go alone. And we always know that God is actually with us as well. His Holy Spirit is guiding us, leading us, going before us. So we never go alone.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Andy, for sharing with us this morning. It's been wonderful to chat with you.
Real pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.